With a Giga nerf and a B patch to the Legend Raven, we're going to go over our top comps to play for patch 13.13b. Our first comp today is Noxus Empire, which is still insanely strong for yet another week. This comp is all about the main carries Darius and Katarina, and getting these units 3-star will make this comp absolutely destroy enemy boards. You'll also want to run Swain in the front line as your main tank and a full Noxus board alongside them. In the later stages, you'll also aim to activate 3 Shurima by bringing in Azir and Nasus to bring some extra scaling to compete with other late game comps. A 3-star Darius and Katarina with full items and a bit of extra power on Azir will help you take home that first place almost every time. The full comp will consist of Darius, Katarina, Azir, Sion, Nasus, Kled, Swain and Cassiopeia. And for the Legend, we'd recommend going for Ezreal to get those ideal items slammed onto your main carries. This is a slow roll comp that wants you to hit level 7 at around the end of stage 3. It's all about 3-starring Darius, Katarina and possibly Swain too, so make sure you prioritize this over anything else. You want to aim to get Darius's items ready as early as possible, with Bloodthirster, Infinity Edge and Titan's Resolve allowing him to simply reset his way through entire boards. If you can't find those specific options, Hand of Justice, Giant Slayer and Edge of Night are also solid choices. Alongside that, you also want to throw anything defensive towards your main tank Swain, who'll absorb crazy amounts of damage with some tanky items if he does get 3-starred. And of course, we cannot forget about our secondary carry Katarina, who'll deal insane damage to multiple targets, allowing Darius to finish them off and clean up the enemy board with ease. Katarina will work best with Ionic Spark, Jeweled Gauntlet and a Hand of Justice. As for your augments, go for any Noxus Heart, Crest or Crown and pop the emblem onto one of your 4-cost Shuriman tanks. Total Domination is another S-tier augment which is just ideal for this comp, as it's heavily revolved around a Noxus board. Item grab bags are obviously fantastic too, but don't sleep on Know Your Enemy either, because after that first kill, your board will deal even more damage. We have full in-depth video guides of the strongest S-tier comps so far this patch on our website and on our desktop app too, with the best legends to play per comp, augment recommendations too, best in-slot items and replacement units too. So if you want to learn how to master Noxus Empire or any other comp in this video, just click the link in the description. Comp number 2 is called Spear and Shield, and this utilizes a variety of traits but mostly plays around Strategist and Shurima units to outscale anything else in the entire game. Azir will be your main damage carry in the backline, with Lux backing him up with some extra power too. And these 2 carries will be protected by an insanely beefy frontline, consisting of Jarvan, Nasus and K'Sante. The full comp will include Azir, Nasus, Jarvan, Lux, K'Sante, Garen, Swain and Talia. For the Legend to play, you could go for Ezreal again as he's just a bit OP, or alternatively you can also go for Vladimir. This is a default leveling comp, so it's all about saving up gold until you hit level 7, where you can start rolling to find all of those 4-cost units Azir, Jarvan, Nasus and Lux. For your items, Azir will do best with the Rapid Fire Cannon, Jeweled Gauntlet and a Guard Breaker, but other items like Rageblade, Gunblade or Giant Slayer can also work well too. Aside from that, you want to get as many defensive items online for your juicy frontliners, with Bramble Vest, Dragon's Claw and Redemption being amazing on Nasus. Slam a Protector's Vow onto Jarvan if you can alongside that Shurima emblem, and apart from that you want to send any leftover offensive and AP items onto your secondary carry Lux, who trust me will deal a surprising amount of damage with her laser. For augments, you want to ideally get yourself a Strategist or Shurima emblem with a Heart, Crest or Crown of either trait, as these will allow you to play this comp easier, more consistently and be more versatile depending on what's being contested. A trait-specific augment like Tactical Superiority is also insane, giving most of your board significantly extra power. Or apart from that, you can just go for any form of unified resistance. The Enlightened ones are back again coming in at number 3, and this comp uses a full Ionian board with Yasuo as your main carry and Kai'Sa backing him up for some extra damage. These 2 4-cost units are honestly just super strong at the moment, which does mean that they are often contested, but if you do get these 2 2-starred alongside 2-starring your main tank Shen at the same time, you'll be in an amazing position to take home first place. The full comp uses Yasuo, Kai'Sa, Shen, Karma, Taric, Set, Warwick and Irelia. As for your Legend, well, we'd recommend going for Ezreal again. This is another default leveling comp, so it's all about saving up gold to hit level 7 and finding those main 4-cost units and carries Yasuo, Kai'Sa and Shen. If you can find enough copies to 2-star these 4 costs, this is where this comp really shows how powerful it can be, especially if you do have the right items on these units at the same time. Speaking of those items, Yasuo works best with an Infinity Edge, Edge of Night and Rapid Fire Cannon, so throw an early Infinity Edge onto Jhin to help you start win streaking. Other solid choices for Yasuo include Quicksilver or Titan's Resolve. You also want to get your main tank Shen geared up with any defensive options like Redemption, Bramble Vest and Protector's Vow. But Dragon's Claw and Warmogs are also fine here. Aside from that, you want to throw any leftover offensive items onto Kai'Sa, with a Jeweled Gauntlet and a Static Shiv alongside that emblem, making her clean up boards easily. Speaking of that Ionia emblem, this will be a priority in those augment selection rounds, as adding that +1 will just make this comp so easy to pull off. Another seriously strong augment for this comp though is Sentinel Spirit, which boosts up those Ionian units and makes this comp even more OP. Aside from the obvious choices, any grab bags or stat boosting augments like long distance pals should definitely not be underestimated. Super Nash Bros is back for yet another week running, and honestly ever since set 9 dropped, this full Void 8 comp has always been in a great spot. Kaisa will be your main carry in this one, pumping out huge damage and cleaning up multiple units by herself. Bel'Veth will join her too with some extra damage, and Cho'Gath will be your main tank in the front line, sponging a ridiculous amount of damage. One thing you absolutely need though when playing this comp is that Void Emblem, as this is genuinely the only way you can play Void 8 and get Baron Nashor involved too. So we'd recommend taking the Earth Legend to increase your chances of getting an emblem with those Tome of Traits. Your full comp will consist of Kaisa, Bel'Veth, Cho'Gath, Rek'Sai, Vel'Koz, Kassadin, Malzahar, and then Yasuo too, who'll be your Void Emblem holder. This is yet another default comp, so aim to win streak as soon as you can and set up goal to hit level 7, where you can now start rolling to bring in those 4-cost units in Kaisa and Yasuo. 2-starring your main carry Kaisa is key, but make sure you also pick up Bel'Veth if you see an early copy. Don't get too crazy though and roll too hard, as you still need to hit level 7 to achieve this comp's full potential. For items, Kaisa will do best with a Jeweled Gauntlet, a Guard Breaker and an Archangel Staff, so try to get these set up and ready for her when you bring her in at level 7. Other items like Gunblade, Hand of Justice or Rabadons are also fine to go for. Throw any defensive items you find onto your main tank Cho'Gath and slam any AD or attack speed onto Bel'Veth, with the best in slots being Titan's Resolve and Edge of Night. For your augments, getting that +1 Void is the #1 priority, so any Void Heart or Soul are no-brainers. Other augments that can help you get that emblem are Dedication or Ancient Archives for the Tome of Traits. Aside from the emblem, another S-tier augment for this comp is Stable Evolution. This one is made for the Void trait, and as your entire board will be Void units, it's obviously a really strong option. Finally, we have comp number 5, which is called Shadow Spears. This comp uses a mix of Shadow Isles and Challenger units, with Gwen and Kalista as your main damage carries. You'll also have strong high cost units like Kaisa, Shen and Yasuo, and Senna too, to tear through teams in the late game. However, this also does mean that you'll need a lot of gold to make this comp work. Your full comp will include Gwen, Kaisa, Yasuo, Kalista, Senna, Shen, Aurelia and Maokai. And for the legend, yes, you guessed it, it's Ezreal again. With so many high cost units to acquire here, as you'd expect, this is another default leveling comp, which focuses on saving up gold until level 7 so you can start bringing in those 4 costs Gwen, Yasuo, Shen and Kaisa, as well as picking up an early copy of Senna if you do get a bit lucky. If you come across lots of Kalista copies throughout the earlier stages and are able to 3-star her as well as 2-starring those 4 costs, I simply cannot express just how strong this comp is in the late game. For your items, you need to get quite a few to make this comp work optimally. Start picking up components to get your Gwen ready first and foremost, and her best in slots are Jeweled Gauntlet, Titan's Resolve and a Hand of Justice. You'll also want to feed Kalista up with a Rage Blade and a Shiv, and potentially a Giant Slayer too. And don't forget, if you do find a Shadow Isles augment early, the static Shiv can come along with it. Aside from that, you can put any leftover items onto your other 4 cost units. Anything with AD onto Yasuo like Edge of Night and Infinity Edge, anything with AP onto Kaisa with Jeweled Gauntlet and Guard Breaker. For your augments, a Shadow Isles emblem is just an amazing way to lock in this comp really early on and help out in those big late game transitions too. Therefore, try to prioritize a Heart's Crest or Crown as much as you can. Haunted Shell is literally made for this comp too, giving your entire board more resistances every time a unit dies. Aside from that, this comp does require a ton of items, so any form of item grab bags will definitely help you out. And that's going to bring us to the end of our top 5 comps you have to play from our Challenger experts. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe to our channel and let's continue climbing together in set 9. Good luck.